What is the biggest issue? A lot of people are saying right now that it's guns, and I'm not going to weigh in on that, but I do want to share some other things. About 13 and a half months ago, I went to South Dakota with my son and one of his cousins to attend a camp. And it was a week long camp, and they were having their culmination thing on Thursday night. And I just volunteered around the camp that week. I helped clear some brush, move some trees around. I helped out in the kitchen some. And all the young people were getting ready to go with the workers to have their final thing. And I was out there talking with them and some of the other people that were a part of this camp. And they were talking. One of them, there was a group of them, including my son and his cousin and a couple of others. They were talking about the struggles they had went through with anxieties, that kind of thing. And one of them had mentioned a therapist. And me, at the time being 44, I said, "Yeah, okay, whatever." But then one of them mentioned that she was cutting, and she was cutting not on her arms, but she was cutting on her stomach and on her sides. About a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, I became aware of a young lady who was 13 who had ended her time on this earth as a result of bullying, and I believe she did it with a rope. And it made news, even though it happened this past September. It kind of made the news because some things happened in the legal system. She was trying to get actions against the other 13-year-old young ladies that had bullied her, and some other stuff had happened. And then yesterday, my son at the school he attends, an anti-suicide thing came in to speak to the young people to encourage them that life is worth it. And everyone's talking about the pew pews right now. I wonder if there's another issue. I'm actually kind of mad about something. So I don't watch a ton of TV, but I like to watch clips of shows. And lately, for some reason, clips of All in the Family have come across my social media feed. Now, if I've watched an entire episode of All in the Family, it's been like one or two. And it's been something like on YouTube or something. I've watched very little of it. But I've seen enough clips strung together of various episodes. I know this particular one where Archie, lovable, northern Archie that had all the prejudices and the short fuses, he was, again, well, like he and Edith. But in one episode, apparently he met a waitress and helped her with groceries in her apartment, and they started dancing. And I think this was about 5 or 6 years into its 8-year run. He kissed her, and I don't know if it was just a laugh track or if there was actually a true audience, but there was some gasps, and then there was some applauding. I wonder, and just hear me out, I wonder if what we're seeing in 2024 with what happened a couple of days ago in Widener, Georgia, to increase teen anxiety, increase teen unlivings of themselves, and all the other things, that everybody's crying out about the pew pews right now, the weapons. I wonder if we're seeing something different. 1971, my mother-in-law, she graduated high school in 71, she was speaking, we were talking just the other day that, and I've heard this before, that in the 70s and maybe in the 80s and even in the 90s, young people regularly took guns to school with them because they went hunting after school. They had gun racks in the back of their truck. I graduated high school in 97. I didn't have my own vehicle after I graduated, so I don't necessarily remember or know about that. But it does seem that something has happened since 1971 if we use that as a base template. I'm not saying that we can put all the blame on this, but in 1971, I would imagine that there were a whole lot more two-family homes or two-parent households. I would imagine in 1971, there was not as much violence or gratuitous sex on the TV shows. I would imagine that even though in the history of American television that dads have always been thought of or treated as idiots, I would imagine there was still more respect for the parental unit. I would imagine that all the lack of values we see in modern entertainment weren't there. Also, there's probably things with our diet has changed as well. I think the pew pew thing is very serious. Do I know the answer? Nope. Do I think regulation is going to fix it? Certainly not. But I think that we need to be looking at a greater systemic issue, because everyone right now, everyone that is calling for the weapons to be outlawed or managed or regulated or taken away, whatever, they're not saying the first thing about child anxiety, about bullying, about increased nihilistic worldview, increased darkness. They're not addressing that at all. All they're talking about is one thing, but they're not giving a rat's left kidney about the greater issue. Listen, where we are in 2024 is a generational result that started, in the 80s or the 60s or the 40s or the 20s or whenever it started. We're living in it today, and we cannot fix it by legislating. We cannot fix it by a law. We cannot fix it by any of that. We can only, if we want to get back to, if we want to get to a level where we don't have what happened in Widener, Georgia a couple of days ago, we need to probably work on fixing some systemic issues. Now, will it fix every one of them? No, of course not. Is the solution two-parent homes where maybe one parent stays at home to welcome the kid off the school bus and one parent works? Is the solution smaller homes and driving older cars and living less extravagant lifestyles that don't require as much money? Listen, I totally get a parent leaves, a parent dies, and the other one has to work, or maybe because of bad decisions of grandfathers, families are still behind today, and so both of them are still having to work just to keep food on the table. I get inflation, I get those things, but I wonder if where we are today is the generational result of the previous generation and the previous generation before that trying to finance lifestyles they didn't need, to get more fancy, to get less simplistic, to get bigger and brighter and faster, and that's what we're seeing today. I can't help but think, and again, I'm not trying to say that, I'm not trying to say anything other than I'm just asking a question. If two-parent households were a thing, and one parent worked, and one parent was at home, maybe even homeschooling their children, would we see the bad attitudes? Would we see the depression? Would we see the anxiety? Would we see all the different things, the mental health stuff that's going on? Would we see the cutting? Would we see all those things? Anyway, I just wanted to run that past you. I'm through thinking. I'm processing myself, and I'm doing that. So anyway, tell me what you think. Sorry this video was so long.